Hello everyone, we're the Group 1 and today we will be presenting unto you a case study about the significant role of the Constitution as well as the historical evolution of the Philippine Constitution. This is Riza Vidal and joining me in this video are Ms. Glyza Apura, Ms. Hedri Jimenez, and Ms. Luella Lunday. Now presented here is the concept map of our case study, and let's talk about first the significant role of the Constitution. So the Constitution of the Philippines plays a significant role in shaping the nation's political, social, and economic landscape. It serves as the fundamental law of the land, establishing the framework for the government and outlining the rights and responsibilities of its citizens. So we have the following key roles of the Constitution in different aspects. The first one is the structure of the government. So we have to establish a structure of the government, because there is a need for separation of powers in the government to ensure a system of checks and balances. Now, under this structure of government we have three distinct branches. We have executive branch, the legislative branch, and the judiciary. The first one is the executive branch. This branch is responsible for enforcing laws, implementing policies, and appointing government officials. And under this branch we have the president, the vice president, and the cabinet. So the president is the head of state and government, elected by popular vote, and he or she serves a 6-year term, and he or she is also the commander-in-chief of the armed forces. The second one is the vice president. He or she assists the president and assumes the presidency in cases of incapacity or death. And then the last one is the cabinet, composed of appointed heads of executive departments. The next branch is we have the legislative branch. So the function of this branch is to enact law, approves the national budget, ratifies treaties, declares war, and impeaching government officials. We have House of Representatives and the Senate. The House of Representatives is composed of 292 members, including district representatives and party list representatives, serving 3-year terms. And then the Senate is composed of 24 senators nationwide and serving 6-year terms. And then we have here the last branch, which is the judicial branch. So it interprets the Constitution. It resolves legal disputes and reviews the legality of government actions. So we have here two courts under the judicial branch. We have the Supreme Court and the lower court. The Supreme Court is the highest court and composed of a Chief Justice and 14 associate justices. The lower court, on the other hand, is composed of the Court of Appeals, regional trial courts, and metropolitan trial courts. The next key roles is we have the human rights and fundamental freedom. So we need to protect human rights and fundamental freedom. So the Constitution ensures those people in the position would promote the welfare of the public in terms of human rights and social justice. Okay, the next one is we have the national development. So we need to promote national development. So the Constitution outlines the responsibilities of the government and ensures that policies and programs are aligned with the nation's goals. By adhering to the principles enshrined in the Constitution, the nation can strive for economic and social development. And then we have here the second to the last one, the good governance. So we need to ensure good governance as well. So this aims to minimize corruption. Take into account the opinions of minorities, listen to the voices of the oppressed people in the decision-making process, and respond actively to the needs of the community now and in the future. So we have here the 8 principles of good governance, and this is according to the United Nations Economic and Social Commission for Asia and the Pacific, or the UNESCO. Okay. The first of the 8 is the participation. The second one is the rule of law. Third is the transparency. Fourth is the responsiveness. 5 is consensus-oriented. 6 is equity and inclusiveness. 7 is effectiveness and efficiency. 8 is accountability. And then we have here the last one. We have to preserve the national sovereignty and integrity. Okay, so the Philippine Constitution emphasizes the importance of national sovereignty and integrity. This is evident in its provisions on defense and security, as well as the foreign policy. Now, that's it for the significant role of the Constitution. And I'm gonna give you to the next reporter or speaker. We have Ms. Luella Lunday for the historical evolution of the Philippine Constitution. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Riza. Moving on to the next concept is the historical evolution of the Philippine Constitution. Here are the key events, milestones, and the overarching themes that have shaped this crucial legal document. The first one is the 1897 Constitution Biak na Bato. The Biak na Bato Constitution provided for the establishment of a Supreme Council that would serve as the highest governing body of the Republic. It also outlined certain basic human rights such as freedom of religion, freedom of the press, and the right to education. Emilio Aguinaldo and Mariana Trias were elected Supreme Council President and Vice President respectively. This constitution is based on the Cuban Constitution and was drafted by Felix Ferrer and Isabelo Artacho. Next is the 1899 Malolos Constitution. It is the first official Philippine constitution and the first republican constitution in Asia. In 1899, the Malolos Constitution was drafted and adopted by the First Philippine Republic, in which the supremacy lasted from 1899 to 1901 under President Emilio Aguinaldo, and was the first attempt at establishing a democratic government after the country declared independence from Spain. 1935 Constitution, also known as the Commonwealth Constitution, was ratified by the Filipino people for national plebiscite on May 14, 1935, which came into full force and effect on November 15, 1935, with the inauguration of the Commonwealth of the Philippines. Among its provisions was that it would remain as the Constitution of the Republic of the Philippines once independence was granted on July 4, 1946. In 1940, the 1935 Constitution was amended by the National Assembly of the Philippines. From then, the legislature changed its house from a unicameral assembly to a bicameral Congress. The amendment also changed the term limit of the President of the Philippines from 6 years with no re-election to 4 years with the possibility of being re-elected for a second term. The 1942 Constitution, or the Japanese occupation, was nullified during World War II. From then, the 1943 Constitution was utilized under the rule of President Jose P. Laurel, and it marked a significant but controversial period in Philippine history as it was drafted under the influence of Japan, which had invaded and occupied the Philippines after the fall of the Bataan and Corregidor in 1942. Next one is the 1973 Constitution. Prior to the declaration of the martial law by former President Marcos, a constitutional convention was already in process of deliberating on amending or revising the 1935 Constitution. They finished their work and submitted it to the late President Marcos on December 1, 1972. And it was ratified in early January of 1973. Last one is the 1987 Constitution. As preparation for the drafting of the 1987 Constitution, President Aquino, through a presidential decree, suspended the 1973 Constitution, a national plebiscite, the direct vote of all the members of an electorate in an important public question, was held on February 2, 1987, ratifying the new Constitution. On February 11, 1987, by the virtue of the Proclamation Number 58, President Aquino announced the official canvassing of results and the ratification of the draft Constitution. The 1987 Constitution finally came into full force and effect that same day, with the President, other civilian officials, and members of the armed forces swearing their allegiance to the new charter. That's all, and now I'll give the floor to Ms. Liza. Thank you.
So hi everyone, I am here to tackle about how this Philippine Constitution, the significance of the Philippine Constitution be applied to our local government. So, upon understanding the significant role of the Constitution in the historical evolutions of the Philippine Constitution, the group has come to the light that this information can be used in our local area by empowering local governance, spreading awareness, and protecting human rights and social justice. So, promoting good governance and advocate for environmental protection and sustainable development. The local government unit or LGU in our area may be a smaller part of the national government. Still, by the Constitution, the local government is empowered to make decisions and implement programs that address local needs. LGUs can use this provision to advocate for increased budgetary allocations, infrastructure projects, and social services. Our local government can also promote peace and order in the area by abiding the mandate of the Constitution and raising awareness in the community about the policies that can help them protect their rights, such as freedom of speech, religion, and assembly, which is covered in the Bill of Rights. The rule of the law is the cornerstone of the Constitution. Therefore, LGU must ensure that regulations are enforced fairly and consistently following due process. With that, citizens can report public officials doing corrupt practices and participate in public hearings to hold officials accountable for their performance. According to the Constitution, government officials should practice transparency and accountability to people. Moreover, this institution can implement programs that address poverty, inequality, and other social issues, such as providing free education, healthcare, and housing assistance. Lastly, the Constitution recognizes the right of the people to a healthy environment. Local governments can implement environmental protection measures and sustainable practices such as waste management programs, tree planting initiatives, and conservation efforts. So, by understanding and applying the provisions of the Philippine Constitution, local communities can work towards a more just, equitable, and sustainable future.
The Philippine Constitution plays a vital role in shaping the nation's identity, governance, and future. Serving as the supreme law of the land, it provides a structured framework that defines government powers, safeguards human rights, and embodies the Filipino people's aspirations for democracy and justice. Through its principles, the Constitution upholds equality, social justice, and sustainability as pillars of national development. This document, refined through history and deeply connected to the country's values, continues to guide the Philippines towards a just, progressive, and resilient society. Now, in our concept map, you will notice we highlighted three roles of the Philippine Constitution, and these are: first, the Philippine Constitution as a cornerstone of governance, law, and human rights; second is the historical evolution and commitment to democracy, justice, and freedom; and last is the Constitution as a tool for shaping the nation's future. So, first, I am going to discuss the first highlight, which is the Philippine Constitution as a cornerstone of governance, law, and human rights. So the Philippine Constitution lays the foundation of the country's government structure, defining the roles and powers of each branch. It establishes the rule of law, ensuring that no one is above the law and that justice is served fairly. So the Constitution also protects the fundamental rights and freedoms of every Filipino, from freedom of speech to the right of due process. As a cornerstone document, it guides policymakers in creating laws that reflect the nation's values and principles. So the second one is the historical evolution and commitment to democracy, justice, and freedom. So the Philippine Constitution has undergone several changes throughout history to adapt to the evolving needs of the nation. So each version reflects the struggles and aspirations of the Filipino people, especially their desire for democratic governance and fair representation. The Constitution embodies the hard-won freedoms fought by generations, symbolizing resilience against oppression. So this ongoing evolution highlights the people's commitment to achieving justice and protecting individual rights for future generations. So lastly, the Constitution as a tool for shaping the nation's future. The Philippine Constitution serves as a roadmap for the conscious development, aiming to create a society based on equality and mutual respect. It outlines the rights and responsibilities of citizens, fostering a sense of unity and shared goals. So the principles of social justice embedded within it seek to reduce inequality and provide opportunities for all Filipinos. By including sustainability as a national priority, the Constitution guides the country toward growth that balances economic, social, and environmental needs. So to add, equality is a core principle also in the Constitution, ensuring that all citizens are treated fairly under the law. Social justice provisions address issues like poverty and labor rights, aiming to create a society where all can thrive. So the Constitution encourages sustainable practices, recognizing the need to protect the environment for future generations. Through these principles, it shapes policies that prioritize a balanced, just, and forward-looking nation. Throughout the history of the Philippines, the evolution of the constitutions reflects the Filipino people's enduring commitment to democracy, justice, and fairness. Each constitution represents the collective hopes for a better future and a stronger nation. The preamble of the current constitution encapsulates the rights and aspirations, emphasizing the importance of a just and equitable society. It is crucial that as citizens, one never loses sight of these fundamental values. The constitution stands as the supreme law of the land, and no one, whether a citizen or a government official, is above it. Every action, policy, or decision made must be in accordance with what is enshrined in the Constitution, for it is the cornerstone of our nation's legal framework. As we study the history of the Philippine Constitution, we must remember that its principles serves as a reminder of the people's power and the constant need to protect the rights and freedoms guaranteed by the Constitution. To summarize the general significance of the Philippine Constitution, the Constitution is crucial in defining a nation's governance, legal framework, and overall political structure. In the case of the Philippines, the evolution of its constitution reflects the nation's continuous fight for freedom, democracy, and justice. By examining both the importance of the Constitution and its historical development, the researchers, we gain insight into how the country's political and legal systems have evolved, shaped by the struggles and aspirations of the Filipino over time. Understanding the significance of both the Constitution itself and its historical evolution is essential in recognizing how the country's political and legal systems has developed over time, and the reasons and events that forced the amendments, nullifications, and evolutions of the following constitutions.